Furniture.
It was 11 years ago that we were in Bali.
So the kids were like 5.
Let's see here. There you are. Look at that.
Woo!
We go right there, and we copy, and we put it in the sew along page. Groups. Sew along.
What?
We're friends now?
No. Nope. Can you put Kimberbell? Sweet Land of Liberty pillow with capitals.
Yeah. What?
Hello!
Give us 1 sec here, ladies.
We're working on it. We're trying to get our...
I mean, it's live on Facebook.
We're trying to get simulcasting. We're very fancy at A1 Vacuum and Sewing. We're almost like, I don't know, Good Morning America or something like that. We're your, instead of, oh, can you mute that so I don't have feedback? I don't know why I feel a little nervous today. I'm like, am I organized? Am I ready? What?
Fired up.
I'm fired up too. We just had a situation and then I'm all fired up. Can you hand me that hoop over there? Okay. So we are going to start with, so what you're doing here today is you are joining me for the Kimberbell's sweet.
Tell them who you are.
Oh, yeah. How about that? Patrick goes, you got to tell them who you are and what you're doing. So, and you ladies know, this is Jeannie. This is A1 Vacuum and Sewing, and welcome to our sew along for Kimberbell's Sweet Land of Liberty pillow. This is what we're going to be making, and it is going to be so adorable. And guess what? We are going to crank it out. So we're going to be doing our sew along today, and then we're going to finish it up on Monday afternoon. That's when the next sew along is going to be, and it's going to be, I think I put it on the calendar for 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and we'll put that on the Facebook group as well, so you'll know. So, but let's go ahead and get started. I posted this onto our, this is posted onto our sew along page, and that's where we put everything. So if you ever want to watch video from a prior sew along, it's usually there, and you can just do a keyword search. But I started doing this maybe 4 or 5 projects ago, and I really put it together for me because I was sick and tired of opening up my book and turning to the page and then having to go back and figure out what size snap hoop or what size pop ruler I needed, what size design. So, I mean, I had somebody yesterday ask me if I could kind of talk to you about how I make this spreadsheet. When I first started doing these sew-alongs or, any of these projects, I literally went in order of the design. So I went, okay, the first design we're going to do is this one. And then after we did this one, I did the next one. Then I realized at the end of the day, it was different rows, different sections. And so then what I started doing is I started looking in the back, and there's section 1, section 2. So I stuck with all the designs from section 1 and section 2 so that once you were done stitching them, you could go ahead and sew that section together. It's kind of like spring showers. I worked in rows. So once we were done with embroideries, because they're not always in order in this in your instructions that way. So so that's how I figure out your sections. And it's in the back of the book. It tells you what section, so I just pull the designs. And then I just literally go through here and I go, okay, we're going to do Sweet Land of Liberty. That is going to be on page 11. So I put your page so you don't have to flip through. You can just look here. Wavy Design, they show you in the very beginning, and this is on page 4 for this one. They show you the design and then they tell you which quilting design we're going to be using and what size. So there's a whole bunch of wavy forward designs, but we're going to be using the 6x6 vertical for this design right here. So that information, I'm just pulling it straight from this page, the quilting page. And then with batting requirements, you're just adding an inch. That's what it's going to tell you in your quilting instructions. So 6x6, you cut 7x7. This one's a little different because we're going to be piecing this and going back and quilting it. But most of them, you're just adding an inch. The 4x6, 5x7, 4x6, 5x7. That's how you figure out your batting requirements. The hoop size just has to fit whatever's here. So I always try and pick like the smallest hoop size to fit this design. And then the pop ruler, it just tells you for Sweet Land of Liberty, that's going to be on page 11. When you flip to the back, it tells you what size pop ruler to use. So I just put all the information here so you're not flipping back and forth between the pages to find the information. This is the most important information and it's in the spreadsheet. And I'll make one of these for each project that we do. The only thing I can't guarantee is that this is perfect. I do make mistakes sometimes, but I did check this over twice, so I hope everything is right. And let's go ahead and get started. So Sweet Land, that's what we're going to stitch out first. You should have, and I did a prep video, so you should have put everything together. For Sweet Land, which is on page 11, you're going to need your background fabric, which is the white with the red polka dot. Your batting, as per your list here, is going to be 7x7. And then you just need your small star, which is the yellow fabric, the gold embroidery for the large star, and the red leather for the firecracker. And I'm already hooped up. So if you're not hooped up yet, you can either use no-show mesh, the light cutaway, which is what they are recommending. So you can use your light mesh cutaway stabilizer. I almost always use muslin because it's softer. To me, it's just softer, more pliable. I like the way it feels. This is enough support because you have the muslin and then the batting and then the backing. So that's enough. And I leave it on, like I don't cut it until the end. So this was a leftover piece. So I'm in my 8x8 hoop. I think it'll fit into a 7x11 as well and an 8x12. Let's go ahead and put our hoop on our machine and we're gonna load our design. All right. So I have loaded on my machine. I'm using just a white Filtech pre-wand bobbin. I'm gonna slide my hoop on. I'm on a Brother Luminaire and the computer is behind me, so I might not see your comment right away, but I'll watch for them. And let's go ahead and we stitched this out this morning. That was the Kimberbell Club design for May. And I'm going to go to embroidery. And first thing we're going to do is we are going to load our quilting design. Now your machine will stitch in order of what designs you load in there first. So let's go ahead and put in wavy 4 and wavy 4. Is this my wavy 4? I put just the designs on here, so that's going to be wavy 4, and I'm going to go ahead and set it. And remember, this is a sew along. I have not done this project. I read through everything, so I'm doing it for the first time with you. If I look like I'm doing something wrong, stop me. Just say Jeannie, and you can put a comment in, and I'll be looking. So I like to choose, wait, this is Wavy Sweet Land, 7x7, and Wavy 4, hang on, I'm sorry. I need 6x6, don't I? 6x6 vertical is the design size. Oh, I had it right here. So 6x6 vertical. So let's go back out of here, delete, I'm going to go back and choose my 6x6. Here's my 6x6. There, that looks better and it fills up my hoop. I already went in here to my settings and I chose my 8x8 hoop so you can see how much space I have. And then we're going to add. So you're going to put your quilting design in first and then we're going to hit add. And if you're not doing the quilting, don't worry about it. And then we are going to put in Sweetland, embroidery files, and it is this one right here, set. And it is not telling me to rotate or anything, so I think I'm going to leave it in that orientation. Yes, we're just going to go ahead and leave it just like that. And go ahead and hit embroidery. The first thing it's going to do is it is going to do a placement stitch for your batting. I'm going to go ahead and put some gray thread in here so you can see it. Your spreadsheet is wonderful. Thank you so much, Marlene. But make sure you proofread it, and if you ladies find something wrong on it, email me and let me know so I can fix it for the rest of the people. Okay, I'm going to put gray in here. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. It's going to do a placement stitch for the batting. I want you to grab your batting piece, which should be 7x7. I always tell people this, you have a right side and a wrong side to your batting. The wrong side is the side that is kind of, I think like lumpier. It's this is the side that's dimpled in, and this is the side that's dimpled out. So the part that's like more dimply out, more nubby, that's your wrong side. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray that side. Don't spray at your machine if you can. I have like a dime spray tent right here. I'm gonna give it a little shot of spray. You don't have to get crazy. We're gonna take this and cover this entire placement line. And then just go ahead and push it down a little bit. You can use the Kimberbell project batting. The project batting is it's thinner. It's super nice, but I like to use this just because these are just all my scraps. I use them all up when I do these. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start. This is going to be the tack down. Hi, Miss Gail. And then you're going to trim. So get out your scissors, your trimmer upper scissors. So this, everything I'm doing right now is in your quilting instructions. This is not, because I know, Linda, this is your first Kimberbell project with us. So if you are going to start off and you're not going to do the quilting, you are going to start with I think I'd have to look, but I think there's going to be a placement stitch for your background fabric and a tack down for your background fabric, and then you'll start here. We'll see. We'll look and see what's coming up on the screen. If not, you're just going to, oh, and you know what I didn't do that I normally do? I usually take my design and I move it all the way up so that I can utilize all of this. I didn't do that this time, so I'll make sure I do it for the next one. What did you spray that with? So I use, this is my favorite spray. This is Ganold KK100, and it's what the pros use. Not that I'm a pro, but I watched a video with pros on it, and they were using this, and I said, oh my goodness, I want to be a pro. So I started using it. But it's my favorite spray because it actually works. And you don't want to get crazy with it. You're not going to use that. I always tell the ladies, you don't use it like Aquanet back in the 80s. It was, I have a girlfriend who's from Jersey, and she's like, the bigger your hair, the better. So she was telling me that when we went and registered for classes, she had to get out of line to go to her, back to her dorm room so she could spray her hair and make it even bigger. And then she came back to register. That was the 80s. Those were the 80s. Okay, you're going to trim your batting. If you have to slide your hoop off the machine, go ahead and do that. I do as much as I can without taking my hoop off. And I cut with both hands. And these scissors, they just, I need to have them sharpened. Okay, next step is going to be the placement stitch for your background fabric. So I have the phone, so I record off of my phone, and it's like literally like right in front of my mouth. So if you hear heavy breathing, that's just me. That's just me being in my happy place, just breathing loudly. You think we're all old enough to know Aquanet? Come on, I know, we all know Aquanet, don't we? Okay. Next thing you're going to do, you can do one of two things. It's going to be the placement stitch for the background fabric. I'm just going to stitch it, but probably for the next design, I'm going to skip it because you know it's going to be equidistant around the batting. But you're going to grab this is your background fabric. You should have this stabilized with a layer of SF 101, which is Shape Flex. What Shape Flex does, I'm such a believer, and we actually use it for everything. I buy it by the bolt, so if you ever want to get a bolt, I'll give you a discount on it. It will help reduce puckering, so you're going to use it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it'll help reduce puckering for your embroidery design, and the other thing it's going to do is it gets helps with shadowing. So I usually don't do the placement stitch. All I do is I take my, once I spray it, I just fold it in quarters. I put my finger on what looks like the middle, and then I unfold it. And that's what I normally do. And you usually have a Kimberbell. The measurements are very liberal. There's a lot of excess fabric, so you're going to be fine, but you want to make sure you're kind of equidistant around the batting. And now it's going to do a tack down stitch, and I'll just do the same color, and then we are going to do the quilting. So you do want to do the tack down, but a lot of times I skip the placement stitch for the background. You're not going to see this color. The color's not going to make a difference. That's basically going to be approximately your cut line for when we trim these down. And so, Miss Linda, I think you're going to do placement stitch for your background fabric, and then you're going to do the tack down, and then we should all be together. All right, my design is, oh, you know what? Before we do that, good time to look at your screen, and it wants to do the, it's doing the quilting stitches. I don't always forget that, but I forget that at least a quarter of the time, and I start going into the embroidery design. I'm just gonna quilt with white. I don't want the quilting to be the focus. I just want it to be in the background. So I'm gonna put some white thread in, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the quilting. I cannot wait. I love these pillows. I love the size of them. I love that they're kind of bite-sized compared to the bench pillows. But I'm super excited for 2 scoops, which I should have, if you ordered a kit, I should have them on Tuesday. And we're going to start that probably in like a week and a half.
Do you care if you sell a spool of that industrial thread that you have in off-white?
Oh, go ahead.
What do you want for it?
$10.
Okay.
How cute is that? It's way before. That's the file name, and then it comes in all different sizes. So cute. The next color you're going to be putting in is going to be a gray. So after that is the design, and then it shows you the color right here. Stitch the fuse detail. I'm going to use a dark gray for that. I've just been using whatever I have in my collection. But when I did spring showers, one of the gals was like, here, use my thread set. I've never bought the thread set. And I bought the thread set and I was like, oh my God, why have I never bought the thread set? Because I have so much thread at home. I was like, I'm not going to get the thread set. So this is a thread set for 2 scoops. There are some repeats. There is no thread set for this, although they make a thread set that was for Red, White, and Blue and Main Street Celebration. They combine the two. So if you're going to do anything that's going to be Red, White, and Blue or patriotic, that's going to be the thread set for you. But I'm going to use the gray from this one for my little rocket tail. I'm going to use that. And then there's the Silky Solids. I'm getting all the thread sets from now on. And I just love this set because it matches all of the Silky Solids that are out with Kimberbell. Their Silky Solid fabric line. And I just ordered they just came out with another, I forget the line. Like the first group I think was called Encore, and this one, or maybe that's what the newest one is called. But they just shipped that out, so I'll have all of those fabrics in the store too. Perfect. So it is going to do, I'm looking at the screen, it doesn't look like that. Stitch the fuse detail. Okay, let me put my dark gray in. You could do a lighter gray if you want. Your vertical wave stitch is different. What does that mean? That my vertical wave stitch. So this is vertical, right? Up and down. Let me go ahead and put this in. All right, and you're just going to do that little fuse. This is the fuse detail, and then it wants you to stitch the swirl detail. I'm going to leave the same gray in for the next step too. So there's my little fuse detail. Then I'm going to hit start, and we're going to do the swirl detail. And I'm looking at this, Linda, thinking, oh, they have you mark it. I never mark it. I literally always just fold it. And if you are centered to the hoop, you can center to the cross, like the little centering marks on there. Or just center it to your batting or center it to the hoop. Now you're going to stitch the large star placement line. It wants you to put in a gold. So I'm going to go ahead and this is going to be the gold that kind of goes with the leather. And the one from the Silky Solid thread kit is perfect. I'm just going to pull that right off. First thing we're going to do is stitch the placement line. What you should do too is don't throw away. I had somebody go, I threw away the little card that came with my thread set and I don't know which thread set it was. And I thought, geez, I would totally throw that away too. So don't throw it away. Tuck it into the box with your threads. And that way you know what project it went to. Do you think mine's double? Maybe let me zoom in. Does that look like yours, Joyce? See how mine's double? Okay, you want to grab your leather. Oh, you know what I forgot to bring is I forgot to bring my, I have a whole thing of extra embellishment pieces. And I usually use those first. So I'm going to put this down. And you're going to see when you spray the leather, and I sprayed from the backside, it bleeds through to the front, but that goes away. So don't ever worry. But see, I can just wipe it away. You know what I want to look at? So if it says trim close to the stitch line, then I don't worry about where I place it. If it says trim as desired, you need to have at least 1/8 of an inch. So I just wanted to check that really quickly. Does mine look like yours, Joyce? Okay, get out your scissors and you're going to trim close to that stitch. Are you sure you have wavy 4? I'm pretty sure mine said wavy 4. Maybe I have the wrong design. Okay, close to the stitch. Close to the stitch. We'll probably have a satin stitch. And that gold is the perfect gold to go with the star. And so that was the tack down. We trimmed the leather close to the stitch line. Next page. Stitch the large star decorative outline. I'm just going to use that same color and then we're going to do the small star. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this back on. Green means go. It's going to do the decorative outline. We're going to leave that same gold in for a whole bunch of this. Although you could change it to be a different color, whatever you want. Okay, you're just going to go ahead and hit start and it's going to do a placement line for the other star. And you're going to grab your other piece of yellow fabric. Give it a little shot of spray to the back. If you want to use tape, you can use tape. I'm a sprayer. Just saying, but sprayers have more fun. I'm just kidding. I don't know about that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the tack down and then I'm going to trim. So this step right now is step 11. Ooh, Marlene used glitter in her stars. Marlene, I want to be free and outside the box. I'm a does as she's told kind of girl. Not with everything, but some things for sure. My son gets that from me too. He's like, he hates to break the rules. You're going to trim close to the, there's some rules I'll break. I think I'm a contradiction. Because there's some rules I love breaking, but some rules I can't break. You know, we're going to do a sew along, ladies. I've been wanting to do this sew along for so long. No pun intended. And I'm super excited about it, but it is going to be a breaking the barriers kind of sew along. I won't tell you totally what it's going to be yet, but okay, that was step number 12. Step number 13 is to stitch the small star decorative outline. Just go ahead and hit start. And then you're going to stitch the spark detail in the same gold and then the tiny star fill. So all of that. So the next, this is step 13, 14, and 15. We're just going to use the same gold. You could change it out if you want. You could put a yellow in. Marlene, you know what happens when I go for it? It's ugly. I went for it. I went for it. There's 2 times I can tell you I went for it. I went for it in the home. Was it the home? That home pillow. It was an event. No place like home. I went for it then and it was so bad. Oh, let me go ahead and just hit start. And then I did it with red, white, and bloom and it was a big mistake too. So Pablo, I am using, this is the Brother Luminaire. So this is what I'm using here at the store. It's also what I have at home. I stitch on the Luminaire, but we're also a Baby Lock dealer. So we have Baby Locks and Brothers in the store. And at home I stitch on this, and I have a 10 needle as well that I like to stitch on. Okay, and I'm gonna just go ahead and hit start again, and it's gonna do 2 tiny stars. I think I am going to use metallic thread. Oh my goodness. Look at Joyce and Marlene. They use metallic thread too. I didn't even think about that. Of course. Why wouldn't you use metallic thread? Keep throwing it out, ladies. Just let me know what you're using, and that way the other girls can see, they can get their creative juices flowing. After we do this, we're going to stitch the firecracker placement line, and you're going to want your red, so you'll probably want some red thread, or for those extremely creative ladies, maybe you want some red metallic. Maybe you want to go blue. Okay, I'm just going to leave this. This is a placement line. Anytime you look at your directions and it shows you the box with the lines through it, that means color doesn't make a difference, although I think it does sometimes. But with this, I'm just going to go ahead and stitch my placement line with the same gold. I'm going to give this a little shot of spray to the back. I mean, if you play it right, you'll have so much left over that you'll be able to do another one. So, I mean, look how tiny that is. I'm just going to, this one says you're also going to stitch it close. So I'm going to just put it right up here. I have a ton left over. I'm going to take out my gold thread, and I am going to do, and it still says color doesn't make a difference, but I'm going to put my red in. Can't be wrong with, Michelle always says it's not done. Michelle, what do you say? She says it's not done until it sparkles. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to do my tack down with red. How cute is this pillow? I mean, we barely did anything and I'm loving it. Seriously, you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4 things of firecrackers. This is why I hoard. Okay, trim it close to the stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back a little bit. You don't have to slide your hoop completely off. Close to the stitch. And if this is a little bit too hardy for those snips, I'm going to use, let's use these. Just any curved scissor, right? And then it's going to do a satin outline. Okay, slide it back on. Go ahead and hit start. You want to be using red as per the instructions, or whatever other color you want. And these pieces here, I keep them all. Because look, I mean, there's so much you could do with them. So get a little box, put all your little scraps in there. What? You can see if Patrick has something. You can ask him. Marlene, you're so sweet. It was pretty bad. I just couldn't, and I kept trying to commit to it and go, you know what, maybe it'll get better, and it just didn't. Remember I made you ladies wait? You had to wait like 5 or 10 minutes for me to rip it out. Hi, Miss Carol. All right. After you finish that firecracker, that was step number 20. That was the outline. You're going to stitch sweet, same red. I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. red is one of those colors where sometimes I'll match the bobbin, but I think we're going to be fine. You should always watch and make sure it's stitching and it's looking good. And if you start to see that bobbin thread, just stop it. Sometimes you're just going to want to match the bobbin. How cute is that S? Okay, this is going to be 7 minutes of stitching. Good time to pick up your sewing room. Oh my goodness, is that Nicole Vance? Oh no, that's Thela. Hey, Thela. Thela, are you stitching with us? Are you just watching? So you should be able to watch this later on. We have it on Facebook and YouTube. You should be able to watch it later on if you're not stitching with us and you want to do it later. That S is cute. Okay, after you do the sweet, you're going to be stitching out in blue. You can choose any light blue that you want. I brought all sorts of, I'm going to use this one right here. This is in my, I'm starting to mix up my colors. Let me get organized. This is from my Silky Solids, I think. Two scoops. Literally, ladies, I have two thread sets open, and I am mixing them up as we speak. Let me see if I can rein it in. Where did that red come from? Oh my God. Thela, good thing working. Get that spring showers done. You'll love it. I gotta say, April Showers was one of my favorite. It might be my favorite Kimberbell quilt, but I'm really looking forward to Cup of Chair because I think that's going to be amazing too. right, we've got one more letter, and then we're going to be stitching out that blue. So pick a gorgeous blue. Sure, Marlene, or you could call and talk to him right now, unless you're stitching with us. What was going on? Maybe I can help you. I mean, does that make you so happy just to look at it?
It does.
Michelle and I are talking about how adorable this this pin cushion is.
Giant pink.
Yeah, a giant pink velvet pin cushion with butterfly head pins. Like, could you be any happier looking at that? Okay, I'm gonna get my blue. And this is going to stitch out, the blue's going to stitch out land of. All right. So skipping some stitches. Can't find my. I mean, first thing he's gonna say is change your needle. And I always tell people when you're skipping stitches, there's 3 variables: your needle, your thread, and your fabric. And just based on that, just switching some things out. Sometimes I will bring up the bobbin thread in the very beginning. If I'm skipping stitches on a basting stitch, I'll just bring it up in the very beginning, just to make sure it catches. Sometimes it just skips on those long basting stitches. So, but is it stitching, is it fine right now, Marlene? Is everything good right now? Is it stitching out and everything's okay? And if it is, then it was just something to do with that basting stitch. Putting my background on. You know, the other thing you might want to check is check your foot height and just make sure you're at default, your embroidery foot height. We can maybe troubleshoot some other stuff too. And we only have, let's see, we just have, for me, 5 more minutes of stitching. We're gonna finish this up. You're gonna need a blue for Liberty. So make sure you have a nice navy blue. I've got this one. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to have all these colors that just go perfectly. All right, go ahead and just hit start, and it's going to stitch out of, and then get a nice blue so you can do the, what's the last thing it's going to stitch? Land of Liberty. And then we're going to take it out, and we'll be ready to hoop up our next project. My Marlene, you're ahead. You are ready for the, well, because, are you doing each one of these separately, or are you doing, like, all, because Marlene's stitching out 3 of these pillows, so are you doing, you know, as many as you can in your biggest hoop, and stitching out many squares at a time? The border and the flange is not, even though we're skipping some of the steps by skipping the placement line and the tack down for the batting and the trimming, it is still, I gotta tell you, I totally dread it. I'm not a huge fan of the quilting for the flange and the border, but once you're done with it and you see it, it's so darn cute. It's kind of like having kids, right? You forget about the pain you went through. Once you see that final result, you're like, oh, but it's so cute. And then you do it again for the next one too. All right, this is going to be Liberty, and that's going to be the end of this one. So let's go ahead and get ready for our next block, and I think it's going to be the pieced one. Now, a lot of times I will do a pieced block with the, I'll do the quilting too. I'll do the placement for the batting, and then the tack down for the batting. Then I'll do the piecing, and then I'll do the quilting at the very end if it's just a piece block. However, this one you have to cut apart and sew together, so we are not going to do that with this one. Hang on. Let's get the fabric ready for the next block, and the next one is going to be our pieced block. So this is also in section 1. It's going to be page 27. This is our quilting design that we're going to use. I'm going to grab my fabric. Pieced block. Okay, this is what you should have for this one. And I'm going to be doing this. I think it's going to be in the 5x7 hoop. We could do it here and just do it at the very top, scoot it all the way up. I'm going to load it first and see what it looks like. I'm going to hoop up my 5x7 in case I want to use that one. And I'm also going to just keep this as an option. So this is going to be next. Piece block is going to be on page 27 of your instructions. I know, are we talking about the piece block, how you have to kind of put it together the way they ask you to put it together, because then you're gonna cut it, right? Are we cutting it? Are we not cutting it? Yeah, we're gonna have to cut it, and then so you're gonna put it together, and then we have to cut it, and then we sew it back together. So there's no way to really do it except the way that they tell you to do it. So we'll go ahead and we'll do the piecing next. It's kind of fun. And it does call for that to be in your light no-show mesh, but again, I use muslin. I think the muslin, I've never really, priced it out, but I think it's cheaper to do it on the muslin too. But for me, really, it's like a tactile thing. I just like the way it feels. And I like the way it moves in my project in the end. Miss Linda, are you stitching with us? How are you doing? Okay, that one is done. I'm going to take my thread out. I'm going to put it away so it doesn't get all mixed up. I think I put them in the right spots, but I am not positive. So let's go ahead and I'm going to slide this off. We can pop this out of the hoop. I'll show you how I press it. And I have my 5x7 all ready to go. So I'm going to just pop this one out there really quickly and put this to the side. My 5x7 is ready. I have it all hooped up. I just have the muslin on there. And it is telling me to change to a larger hoop because my other design is still on there. So if that happens to you, not a big deal. Just slide this off and let's clear our screen. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this doing good a little behind. Okay, let me slow down because I start to go really, really fast. So where I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. To clear my screen, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the home button. And I am going to load in the other one, and we can talk about how we finish up the we press and we cut everything. So here we go. This is going to be your pieced block. So I am going to load the design. So I'm going to go home. I'm not adding the quilting stitches. I'll do that later. Sweet Land of Liberty, PES, and our pieced block is right here, and it's calling for a 5x7 hoop, and I'm going to go ahead and hit set. I am going to change my outline because I have the 8x8, and I'm going to do my 5x7 and hit OK, and that looks good. So let's talk about, and you could be using your no-show mesh. So if you want to use no-show mesh for this, by all means do. I'm going to go ahead and hit embroidery. And I'm just going to give you a minute to catch up, and then we will get stitching with this one. So I'm going to just slide my hoop on, have my stuff. We're not going to put the batting down now. We're going to do that after we slice it all apart. And if you're waiting and you want to catch up, well, I'm going to go ahead and press this out. So just turn on your iron. I'll show you how to press this out. A lot of times, actually, I will leave this on here, and then I'll hoop up for my next one, and then I'll cut them apart. That's really what we should do, because that's going to save us a lot of our muslin and our stabilizer. Just trying to kill some time to have some people catch up. I have adopted your preference for the muslin. Love the results. Would never have dreamed of using it. You know, the first person who, if you've been around for a while and you've done an event, or you did an event with Nikki Brazel, who started the Destiny Divas, she's the one. She did an event and she had the Shop Hop quilt, the Anita Good one, and she was telling me to use muslin instead of stabilizer. And I said, what kind should I get? And she's like, just get the cheapest kind. Just get whatever. Not going to make a difference. And I was like, okay. And I've used muslin ever since. There are some that I feel like hold a little bit better. So, because I use some where it kind of pulls a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Once you press it all out, it looks spectacular. So I wouldn't worry about that either. I like long stuff. So I like my 90-inch and my 60-inch. Those are my favorite. I go with the width of it over like the quality of it, because the cheap stuff is good too. Any of it. You don't want to use really nice, expensive muslin. It doesn't call for that. You can just use whatever. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be doing next. How are we doing, ladies? Ready to do our next pieced square? This is what we're going to be doing. Like you said, it calls for your light mesh cutaway. And you're going to load the embroidery design, which I did, and piece the piecing template. And like, you know, I have the rest of my muslin here all to the back. I just keep it on there. So a lot of times, if there's room, I'll take my design and nudge it down. So just to utilize all of that. So I do have a little bit of space here, not a ton, but I'm going to go layout, move, and I'm just going to put it all the way down. If my muslin was hanging to the front, I would nudge it all the way up to the top. But since I hooped it where it's going to the back, then I'm going to pull it all the way down. We're going to say OK. And the first thing it wants you to do is stitch the piecing template. So I'm going to put in a color that's not too dark, but not white. Let me go ahead and put in my gray. Using muslin 2. Stitching Liberty right now. All right. Just keep going, and if you do fall behind with these, the video's there, and I'll just walk you through. And I mean, was that your first Kimberbell square, Miss Linda? You're rocking it. Just be prepared, if you become a Kimberbell addict, prepare to go to the poorhouse, like we all have, even me. Because each project that comes out is just so cute, you can't help but do it. Do you spray muslin with best press? I don't do anything to it beforehand. I just stitch it. I best press all my my fabric pieces. Maybe I should, but I don't. If you're like the type of person that best presses everything, go ahead and best press it too. Because sometimes I find pressing your fabric shrinks it. but I've never best pressed it until I will best press it when I press out my squares, and I've never had any issues. But I'm not washing these. These are like wall hangings. These are decorative. If it was something that I was going to use, and it was going to get washed, I'd wash everything. I'd either wash nothing or wash everything. Best press everything or best press nothing? I'm not sure. I never best press my muslin. Okay, that is going to be your template. Now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to follow these instructions. First piece that it wants you to lay down is, I'm using, and I don't know if I picked the right one, but I think it's that pink, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's this pink. So I'm going to lay that down. I put these in order, the order in which they're going to get stitched. And this piece is going to go right side up. So I am going to give it a little shot of spray. All the rest of them go right side down, so I'm not going to spray them. I'm going to spray them after. And you want to cover over that top square on the very top, or the top rectangle. And it is going to do a stitch trim line. So go ahead, wait, hang on a second, load the embroidery file, stitch the template, right side up, completely cover section 1. I don't know why my needle is so high. That's my template. Maybe I just have to move it down. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Let me look at my screen. Okay, make sure that you have it down far enough. And check that it's covering the top too. Okay, this should be my trim placement line. Go ahead and trim it. Trim that. Just make sure you put it down far enough. Okay, trim it up. Next piece is going to be the blue hound's tooth. You're going to lay it face down, center it to that stitch, and the edge should be on the stitch line, and it's going to be your 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to spray and flip. If you're not comfortable doing that, finger press it and tape it down. I'm going to give it a little shot of spray. Now it's going to do another, this is going to be the trim line, placement line. And we're just going to repeat. Next fabric is going to be the white with the red polka dot. That's going to go next. This is going to be the same steps. Placement, trim line. I want double curved. You're going to take your fabric right side down, center it to that stitch line, and place the edge right on that line. This is your 1/4 inch. I'm going to give mine a little shot of spray, but you can just finger press it. You could just like finger press it and hold it down as you stitch it. I'm a spray addict. And it's not a ton of spray. There's just a little bit coming out. Repeat. Placement trim line. Trim it. Next piece, red lattice. You're going to put it right side down, center it to that stitch line, place the edge on that stitch line, 1/4 inch. It's your 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to give mine a little shot of spray. And repeat. Placement trim line. It's really, once you get the hang of it. Next piece that's going to go down is this kind of khaki color piece. It's like, I don't know, putty, grayish. Okay, that's your placement trim line, so trim. And it really should be called your trim placement line because you trim first, then we're going to place. There is no right or wrong side to this fabric that's going down. Do your tack down. Give that a little shot of spray or just finger press. Sometimes it takes a little while to break in your can of spray. I know my KK Ganold, when I first start using one, I'm erratic with my spraying. It's like so much comes out or nothing comes out. Okay, here's your trim placement line. Either side. That's your 1/4 inch. And some people, if you want, you could press this, but you need to take your hoop off your machine, and then you could use a small iron and press each one. Okay, this is step number 20. Is it 28? Yeah, this is 28. It says flip the fabric right side up and press the seam. Now we're going to stitch the trimming guide. So it's going to trim around the outside of it. I just have a light gray in there. I'm just going to leave that. And I'm just going to hit start. And then we're done with this. We're going to take it out of the hoop. We do have to trim it and then sew it back together. All right. I mean, that's the trim lines. I'm okay. But that first piece of fabric, I had a little high up there.
She's saying that because she wants to know if it has a discount on it.
Yeah, she gets 20%.
20%? Okay.
So her
This
CD
is already
paid.
paid.
The CD's paid,
Yeah,
and
this
then
is all
she gets 20%.
Okay.
I was close there. I put that down a little bit low, but it all worked out, so we're okay. And we're gonna go ahead with this one. It says to remove it from the remove the block from the hoop. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and use a rotary cutter, and you're gonna cut the outside line. You know what? I don't cut to the line. I'm going to cut to my ruler and make sure that it's 3 inches by 6.5 inches, because sometimes it pulls in a little bit or pulls out a little bit. So I would fussy cut it to 3 and a 3 by 6.5. Before we cut that though, let's go start with the next one and then we'll come back to that and we'll trim that all up together. All right, ladies, next block, pie. And we're going to be in the 5x7 hoop, so I'm going to go ahead and hoop it in this. Let me put it right here. It's my last one. Let me pop it out. You know what? Let me just cut that. And we'll trim it while we're stitching out the other one. I just made it in that line. I'm going to hoop up again in my 5x7. How are you doing, ladies? A lot of times I will stitch 2 and then I'll trim when I do my third one. Okay, so I'm going to pull in gently this way.
Are you using this?
I'm going to go ahead and slide this on. Fluff your fabric. Make sure nothing is tucked under. Let's grab our fabric from our fabric pack. You should have it marked. We are doing pie. Page 30 in your instructions. Here's my little bag with everything labeled inside of it. So I'm looking for pie. Watermelon. Here's pie. All right. Let's turn to page 30 in our instructions. Which set of instructions is this? It's going to be the next design. Hi, Miss Carol. So we are sewing, we're working on Kimberbell's Sweet Land of Liberty. It's their newest little pillow. And it's super cute. We just finished this. We have to sew it together, but we just finished stitching it out. And now we are going to stitch out the pie pattern. So again, light mesh cutaway. I'm using muslin. And the quilting design we're going to be using, let's grab our spreadsheet, is going to be wavy 4, and the size we want is 4x6 horizontal. So let's go over here. And if you're not doing the quilting stitches, no big deal. You're just going to go ahead. We got a new filming arm and it is stiff. So sorry that it's taking me a little bit to kind of move it into place. If you go home, it's going to clear your screen. We're going to go embroidery, pocket. And I loaded these individually, and it's the 4x6, 4x6, 4x6 horizontal. This should be 4x6 horizontal. I'm going to go ahead and set it, and now we're going to add. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add. I'm going to go to my pocket, and we're looking for your pie design. Thank you, Miss Carol. I love them too. It just helps me stay organized. And helps me not have to flip around. I don't like feeling unorganized, especially when I'm doing a class. I want to be organized for you ladies. Okay, here's the pie design. Let's look and make sure they don't have us moving anything around. I'm going to go ahead and set that. You know how sometimes they have you move your design? And this one does not say anything. Oh, right here, alignment. Align the block embroidery file with the quilting file so both are centered. So we don't have to do anything. That last one I think was centered too, but sometimes we have to watch that. So we're good. You're just bringing it right inside. It's going to be centered to the quilting design. And we're going to go ahead and hit embroidery. I have my gray thread in there. This is all our fabric and our batting. Let me move this out of the way. And first thing we're going to do is the placement stitch for your batting. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. Grab your batting. Make sure you're spraying the wrong side. I think my batting was cut 5x7. So I'm feeling for it. That's my wrong side. Give it a little shot of spray. My goodness, I love that spray box or my spray tent. I love it. Do you remember that skit, that Saturday Night Live skit with Shannon Doherty? Who else was in that? And she would say, I love it, I love it, I love it. And she'd like lean back in her chair and like kick her legs. I just think she's so funny. Okay, we're going to do our tack down. And all the instructions for the quilting, this comes with the quilting packet. This isn't going to be in the instructions for the embroidery. Get your scissors because you're going to trim away that excess batting. And your background fabric for this one is going to be this right here. And you want to have it, this is like up and down. So our pie is going to go like this, even though it's sideways. So you want to have it in this orientation. You should have fused your shape flex to the back of this. Make sure there's no like red threads or dark threads on the back before you lay it down because you don't want it to shadow. I'm going to go ahead and trim away the batting. Right, I'm going to go ahead and spray this. It's now the next step. I'm going to show you how to skip this step because for me it's just not necessary. So the next step is going to be the placement line for your background fabric, but I did spray it. I'm going to go ahead. It's a little tacky because I sprayed it. I'm going to fold it in quarters. I like to point to the center, just lay this down, open it up. Make sure I'm pretty even on either side, and I'm just going to go ahead and press it down. And I'm a little lower, and I'm a little bit to the left, but that's okay. I just want to make sure it's pretty even. And press it down. I'm going to skip the next step because you can go into here. That's going to be my placement. This is my tack down. So I'm going to go ahead and do the tack down, but I skipped the placement stitch. I am, Carol, I'm predominantly right-handed. The only thing I do is I cut with my left hand. And my mom said they called her from school to tell her I was cutting with my left hand. And my mom just said, who cares? She's like, who cares? Right? Who cares? All right, quilting. You want your thread to match. So go ahead and pick out whatever color you want. I'm going to do a cream. I thought that was kind of funny. The other thing my mom did, which I thought was super funny, is she brought me to kindergarten when I was 4. So I turned, my birthday's in December. So, you know, she brought me in, I guess I was 4.5. And they told her I was too young and to bring me back the next year. And my mom just left me there. And that's how I started school. And that is how it all began. God, it makes my mom sound like a rule breaker, but she totally wasn't. Maybe she didn't understand them, too. My mom came to the States when she was... I think she was maybe 29, something like that. So she was just learning English. I know, right? You should just if they tell you something you don't like, you just pretend like you didn't understand, and just and leave your kid at school. Alright, so we're doing our quilting stitches. We have already loaded our embroidery file, and the next thing we're going to do here is going to be stitch the pie tin placement line. And we're going to be laying down our silver leather. So whichever thread you want to match that. Here's my silver leather. Here's this. Oh, that looks good. I'm just going to go with that. I hope everyone has Mother's Day plans, that you're going to be doing something special with either your mom or your kids. All right, that was the quilting. Now we're on to step 2 of our instructions, which is to stitch the pie tin placement line. How are we doing, ladies? Am I like flying ahead? Let me slow it down a little bit. I have trouble with that. I have 2 speeds, like motionless or motion full. I'm either going really fast or not moving at all. All right, I'm going to put in my gray. I'm going to use this. This is going to be for my, you know what? This is really pretty. This is from, whoops. This here is from the Silky Solids. So, you know, it's going to be the perfect gray. So that's kind of nice. Joyce, sometimes when it's Mother's Day or my birthday, especially when the kids were little, we do something all together, but then part of Mother's Day would be like just letting Mom do whatever she wants. So Patrick would take the kids and do something with them. We wanted to take my Patrick's mom out to, is it called Caselli's? For those of you, okay, I'm going to do my placement stitch. Those of you who are from Reno, I've never been before, but I think it's called Caselli's Halfway House. Does that sound familiar? Have any of you been there? I'm going to go ahead and give this a little shot of spray. But my kids who are, they're in the middle of their AP exams. They don't want to do anything until their AP exams are over. We should just leave them at home. Okay, for this, it says trim leather as desired. When it says trim leather as desired, you want at least 1/8 of an inch. Or I like to have 1/8 of an inch. And sometimes I will just move this up. There's my stitch line. I'll move it up 1/8 of an inch so that side I don't even have to trim. I'll just slide it up and I'll peek under here. And I'll peek under there. I'll move it down here. And that way, this left side, I'm not even going to trim. Nobody in Reno's been to Caselli's? Am I saying it right? Maybe I'm not saying it right. I tried to go last weekend, Carol with Violet. Patrick and Kai were doing something, so I said, Violet, let's go. And we went, and they were closed. They were taking like a family vacation for the week, and I was like, oh, good for them. All right, we're going to go ahead and trim this. So trim as desired. Anytime it says trim as desired, I use my curved straight scissors, these right here. I find that I can't do a straight line when they're curved, so I use my curved straight.
be doing. You don't have free motion capabilities on an SC. So you can, I mean, sometimes I just use monofilament on the top and the bobbin if I don't want to see a color. Yeah, or else
It is on 4th Street. Cheryl, have you been before?
embroidery is about 40 weight.
I am going to trim this a little bit long for me.
Yeah, it's 40 weight, and then we also have over here we have like the Decabob and the Invisibill. One's 100 weight, one's 80 weight.
There we go. That's how I like it.
Because it's a cottonized polyester thread, so
So we're going to try and go the weekend after my kids are done with their exams. All right. Fluff your fabric. Make sure it's not turned under at all, or your muslin if you're leaving it on long strips of it. So I just did this trim as desired. Now we're going to stitch the fill placement line with that blue. So let me grab that. I'm going to use this blue right here. Is this the blue I want? I don't think so. Maybe they're just showing me that in that color. It's for the navy, so I'm going to go my navy blue. The filling, okay, so this is the filling placement line. This looks like the, I look at the picture. I guess it's just peeking out a little bit, like a little bit of like the blueberry or something. I love meatballs. I worked with a couple of Stempex the Hofag to the halfway house in some way, shape, or form. And here is your leather that we're going to be putting down. And it says, place the filling leather right side up, stitch the filling tack down line, and trim the leather as desired. And I'm waiting for like some time where they're going to be doing a lot of stitching, and then we'll do some prepping with the squares that we've stitched out already. I'll have to try the meatballs when we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and these are going to be trim as desired. So make sure you give this a little bit of room.
So I don't have a problem with it. I think that sometimes
Miss Linda, how are you doing? Here's my, where's my white? Gotta find that. That's gonna be next. Oh, so the white for the flag is just gonna be stitching. I got scared for a minute, thought I'd lost it. Carol, that sounds fantastic. Just when I need some good Italian. I love good Italian. Hanging in there. If you need some help, just let us know. So this is the filling. And I'm going to go ahead again because it says to stitch trim as desired. So I'm going to leave a little bit of an edge around that. And I'm going to use my curved straight. They're straight to go over the edge of the hoop, and then they're curved. Or they're straight, the blade is straight. So I'm going to go ahead and trim around each one of these.
yeah, I think you'll have fun with that. It's no fun when you're doing both embroidery and rendering, so.
Look how cute those are. Aren't those adorable? So cute. Okay. I don't know if you can see that blue. I don't like that edge. I have an edge there that's a little bit... Oh, it's fine. Nobody's going to look at that. I just zoomed in. See what happens when you zoom in? All right, fluff your fabric. Next thing it wants to do is stitch the white flag stripes fill. So let me make sure. I'm going to go ahead and change my thread out. Let's put my white in. Looks like I used tin snips for my pie plate. I'm sure it looks great. Tin snips. I'm imagining it right now, Miss Linda. It's hard to cut a straight line. And then if you want to, like right here, how I have it like sharp, you could go ahead and take, like round out those corners if you want. Okay, this is going to be the white stripes on the flag, and then we're going to stitch out the red stripes. So Kimberbell Harvest event is not listed. Okay, let me check my, sometimes I send stuff out to our marketing gal that helps us, and sometimes I don't hit send. Let me just make sure I sent it. I'm going to go ahead and put the red in next. I'll send her another email. And then if it doesn't go up, I will do it later on. I'll do it this weekend. So it'll be up there. All right, let me go ahead and put the red in. Here's the red stripes, and then we're going to stitch the star field fill. It's a tongue twister. I can't decide which glue to use. Let's do this one. Harvest. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take out the red and I'm going to put in the blue. Stitching this makes me want to sing patriotic songs. Da, 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 da. Doesn't it make you, like, put you in the mood? Okay, so we're going to do this, and then we're going to do the stars. So we're going to use white for the stars, and then we're going to do the flagpole. let's go ahead and put our white in. These are all short stitches, like 1 minute. I need like a 4 minute. And then you're going to put your gray in after it does these stars. And I'm using that darker gray. Where's my darker gray? So is the Serenity Prayer Flower applique? Some of the flowers are applique and some of them are stitched. Like the big flowers, those are all applique. So that is a tiling scene, Marlene, that goes fast. Like I feel like I got that one done so quickly. The harvest event is going to be $99 if you pick the kit up, and it's going to be $109 if we ship the kit to you. And it'll include all your stabilizer and whoops, my arm hit the screen, so it stopped it. It'll include all of that. I should probably trim that long thread. Look at how I engage in risky behavior. I take my chances when I'm stitching. The harvest event is going to be the first day they offer it, the first day we can teach it, which is going to be July 15th, and it is a Friday. It's what? Is it March? Wait, no, it's May, June, July. So we usually do a Kimberbell event like every other month. We don't want you ladies going through withdrawals. Okay, you're going to put in your dark gray for the pole. And it's also going to be for the steam. That is kind of cute. You know, the pie filling. The leather. Oh man, I love pie. I love it. I love pie. I love cobbler. I love blueberry pie. We like stopping at Aikida's and getting pie there. Okay, now I want you to stitch the crust placement line. Oh no, steam, sorry. Leave that in, you're gonna do your steam. And then you need your crust placement line. This is in 2 scoops. It's the perfect color to go with that gingerbread. Kind of pie crusty. Linda, I'm still giggling about you saying that looks like you cut your pie tin with tin snips. That's just funny. Okay, let me go ahead and put this down. We are going to do the crust placement line. So, you know, what helps is having all your threads picked out ahead of time. Sometimes I can't pick the right blues, so I pick like 10 of them. Then I pick it as I go. And just having everything all organized. So here is my felt. I'm going to give a little shot of spray to the back. I might do my border and my flange this weekend and just record it. I'm thinking that's what I might do. Just so we can get this project done. I'm just anxious to finish it. It's just going to be so cute. All right, we're going to lay down our crust. Make sure it covers your whole placement line. And this is trim the felt as desired. So you want to leave about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to bring it down just a little more just to make sure I have everything covered. It's not going to have a, it's going to be like a raw edge design. So if you look here, there's no finishing stitch. So just make sure you give yourself enough room for everything. And the watermelon's going to be in the 5x7 too. So get your fabric for the watermelon. That's going to be next. This is what you should have for your watermelon, your background fabric, your batting, and these are going to be your applique fabrics. All right, let's trim it up. So your instructions say, trim the felt as desired. Be sure to cut out the filling holes. Tip, to cut pie vent openings, use a seam ripper to make a hole in the felt and trim inside the stitch line with scissors. Be careful not to cut the leather underneath. Anytime they have stuff highlighted, make sure you read that, because that's going to be important stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. This is going to take quite a bit of trimming, so I'm going to just set it on my lap. That way I can kind of turn as I go. How cute is that? It's going to be adorable. There's a little flag coming out of it. And trim as desired. So I'm going to trim close to the stitch line, but not the stitch line. Take your time, make it look pretty, because this is going to be the final outline. Innies and outies. And innies and outies. Like free motion, huh? Innies and outies. There we go. All right, don't forget you want to get in here, and they did talk about using a seam ripper just to kind of get it up. I'm just going to gently lift it up this way. And I am going to cut right to that stitch. You just don't want to be aggressive where you're scratching up that leather underneath. Gentle. Be gentle, ladies. So you didn't really have to be too careful of trimming the leather earlier because it just gets covered up. My advice to you, to my earlier self, would be like, don't worry. And you can make it as perfect or imperfect as you want. And that to me is good enough. I'm going to do the next one. Usually there's one side that's like a little sharper than the other. Okay, last one. How are we, ladies? Super cute. I love that blue. It's adorable. All right, I'm going to go ahead and slide this on. If you're still trimming, just trim. And I think that was it. Trim the felt. I was ready to pop it back on. Remove the block from the hoop, and using an orange popper ruler, we'll go ahead and trim that up before I cut this off of my my muslin. I'm just going to move it up, and I'm going to start the next one. And then while that one's going, hopefully we'll have time where I can show you how I press everything out. So here's everything for my watermelon. I'm going to go ahead and rehoop. I brought my hoop tightener, but I don't know where I put it. I'm just going to pull out all the wrinkles so it's nice and flat. And we're going to go ahead and do the watermelon. So I'm going to come back over here. I'll give you a minute. Do we need a bathroom break? Do we need 2 minutes to catch up? Why don't we do this? I'm just going to load my hoop on my machine. I'm going to give everyone a little chance to catch up. And while you're catching up, I'm going to press out the blocks that we've done. So this is set for us to load our design. I'm going to heat up my iron. Let me go ahead and heat it up. And I'm going to press out this block, and I'm going to press out this one right here. So I'm going to take this over to my ironing area. We'll come right over here. I find it works best on a wool mat. That way you can kind of press into the wool mat, or you could use an OESD press cloth. That's my second favorite thing. So you can see there's some puckers where it's not totally laying flat. You want to use something like Best Press or Steam at least. I'm going to spray the back of it. And I always look to see if it's directional. So if my fabric's directional, because what you don't want to do is just press all over the place and have your stripes distort or something like that. So let me just move this out of the way. My iron needs just another minute. Okay, we're good. I'm an aggressive presser. And really what you want is you just want it to lay flat. And I don't care if I distort it a little bit. I usually go one direction and then I'll go the other direction. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and turn it this way, and then I'll press it. And I just want everything to be nice and flat. You can see like the line on my stitching isn't totally straight. Not worried about that at all. I don't worry about puckers. That to me is perfect. And so for this one, if you look at our sheet here, it says that we, Sweet Land of Liberty, we're going to go 6.5 by 6.5. That's your pop ruler. So I'm going to take it right here. That's my 6.5 by 6.5. They come with these little rubbery things. You definitely want to use them. And you can always confirm the size right here, 6.5 by 6.5. You're going to kind of frame it the best you can, because it's going to be a little bit bigger on one side. So you're going to kind of fussy cut it to that ruler. People always go, is it worth it? Should I get the rulers? If you do a lot of Kimberbell, absolutely. You should definitely get the rulers. You're going to use them all the time. And they come in a square set. There's a square set, and then there is a rectangular set. And that looks pretty good to me. The other thing I think is really important is when you're trimming these down that you have a good rotating cutting mat. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rotary cutter and push it in here. Just go all the way up. I'm going to hold everything, swing the whole thing around, and I'm going to do another cut, and that's it. So you're just going to do that whole. And if your stitches are a little inside of this or a little outside of it, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And if you didn't catch one of the cuts, that's totally fine too. You just want this to be nice and flat, and you want your edges to be nice and straight, and this one is perfect and ready to go. As far as the pieced one, which needs to be, what was it? I think it was 3 by 6.5. We're going to go ahead and press this. I'm going to press it from the back side, so I'm going to give it a little shot of spray. You just want, like I said, you just want it nice and flat. Now it looks good, and now we'll go ahead and we'll trim it. So, what rulers do I have here? Whoop. by 6.5, right? So we want 3 by 6.5. Let me check that measurement one more time. That is page 27. So it says we're going to trim it 3 by 6.5. Like, again, I don't trim to that line because you just don't know if your line's going to be completely straight, but you want to use it to kind of fussy cut. And this is a 6.5 and there's 3. And I want my 1.5. I'm really focusing kind of here on my 1.5. And just making sure that from here to here is 1.5 inches. And then it's down there. And I'm not too worried about if my stitch comes in a little bit because I can, that's going to get sewn into the seam. Okay. That I think is going to be as good as I'm going to get it. So I'm going to go ahead. Alright, I'm going to do my last cut. My 3 inches and then I'll cut it down. But if you cut to the line, I don't think it's going to be as accurate. I would cut to your ruler. And I'm going to cut each one of these 1.5 inches. And we're going to flip them and sew them. There we go. We're going to flip these. We're going to sew them together. You're going to make sure all your lines are matched up. And then we're going to go ahead and quilt those. So if we have a chance, I'll go ahead and sew those together and we'll try and quilt them. I would like to quilt them tonight. All right, let's go ahead and do our watermelon. How are we, ladies? I wasn't looking at the messages at all. Do you have luck with water in your iron? Yeah, mine seems to be fine. Are you having issues with water in your iron? I mean, just make sure your iron's nice and high. I mean, sometimes it'll drip out until my iron is nice and hot. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the watermelon. We've got an hour left in our sew along, and I'm hoping that we can do the quilting for our piece block too. So watermelon, we are going to be using the Patriotic 3 design. That's 4 by 6. So let's go on over here, and I'm going to go home, embroidery, and I need Patriotic. Here it is, 4 by 6. There's my design. I'm going to just load that. It's cute, and we're going to add to that. So load your quilting design in first. Then we're going to load in our embroidery design, and the embroidery design we're loading is the watermelons. And Sweet Land of Liberty. Whoops, that's not me. My machine doesn't read JEF. PES. I usually pull those off. I don't know why I didn't do that today. Here's our watermelon right here. Go ahead and set it. Make sure when you set your designs that you look at the alignment. So we need to turn to page 32 in our instructions. 32. Let's go page 32. You know what I want to see? How bright is my light? Okay, here's page 32, alignment. Align the block embroidery file with the quilting file so that both are centered. Easy peasy. That's your easiest option. And I'm going to hit embroidery on my screen. I'm going to go ahead and move this down because then I'll snug it down and I'll save a little bit there. So here's my design. When you're on this page, your main edit page, if I were to move my designs, they're going to move separately unless I color group them. Once you hit embroidery, then they move as one. So see my quilting design. And if you have your hoop on the Luminaire and Solaris, it won't move outside of the 5 by 7 or whatever frame you have on there. I'm going to go back in here to move center, and I'm going to snug it all the way down. Saves us like an inch. And we are ready to go. I still have my brown in there from before. I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. It's going to do the placement stitch for the batting. And grab your fabric. Here is all of my fabric. Batting is what I want first. I'm going to give this a shot of spray to the nubby side. That's the side. Make sure you cover all the edges of your placement line. And do your tack down. This one does seem so fast, doesn't it? Because there's only, what are there, like 8 designs? It's going to be quick. We're already like halfway done. The thing that's going to take us the longest are the darn flange and the border strips. Okay, get your scissors ready, whichever ones you want to use. So I usually leave the embroidery on, and that way when I snip them apart, like I am like using the least amount of muslin as possible. So once I hoop the next one, then I'll cut this one off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trim the batting. If you're not stitching with us and you have this kit, don't let it sit. Get it done, ladies. Don't put it on the shelf of good intentions. My sewing room at this point has gotten so messy because I have run out of places to put my stuff. I'm in a real pickle. My options are get rid of stuff, but that's not really an option, is it? I'm so impressed with like ladies that can purge. I struggle with that. My other option, and the option I like better, is to somehow take over some portion of Patrick's space. Don't let him know that that's what I've been thinking. He doesn't need all that room. And I threatened the kids. I go, as soon as you leave for college, I'm taking over your... This is what I told them. I said, well, you know when you leave for school, they have rooms right next to each other. We're going to go ahead and spray this. I'm going to skip the next step. That's going to be the placement line for the background fabric. I'm going to spray this. And I like to fold it in quarters. Point with my finger to the center, unfold, and just check and make sure I'm about centered. And I just feel for here and here, I'm good. Oh, that's going to be so cute with the watermelon. Okay, I placed my background fabric so I can skip my next step. That's placement stitch for the background fabric. I'm going to go ahead. This is tack down. I am going to do my tack down. I have brown in there, but I'm going to leave it because it's going to get sewn into the seam line anyways. Oh my God. Catherine, you should be stitching with us right now. Why aren't you stitching with us? So we're going to do our next sew along is going to be on Monday afternoon. So just tell yourself that you're going to be there for that. Okay, background stitching. You're going to see this. Change it to a color that you're going to like. I'm just going to do white. I don't want the quilting on this to be the focal point. I just want it to be the background. Catherine, you better come in here, or you better be there for the next sew along. Okay, I'm going to do the quilting, and then we're going to do the embroidery. This is 2 minutes of stitching. I could take this over to the machine. You're going to have to match up your seams and then stitch this together. Should I go run and do that? I'm going to run and do that. Be right back. Stitch these. If you have another sewing machine and you can do it, stitch these together. All right, I am back. So I went ahead and stitched mine together, and these seams, the seams get really bulky, and so I know you're supposed to press to the dark side. I'm going to press these open, and then we'll have that, we'll be able to quilt this later on. So while we're done with our quilting stitch, I did leave you for a minute, so I'm going to look at the messages. So we are going to start at 1 o'clock on 1 o'clock on Monday, 1 to 4 o'clock, and I'll post something on Facebook for that too. So what are we doing now? We're going to stitch the piecing template, and to be honest with you, I don't know what that icon means. What does that mean, ladies? The eye means I'm watching you? What does that mean? It means Kimberbell is watching. Okay, here we go. The visible color block indicates a visible thread color should be used. So go ahead and choose a color that you're going to see on top. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this light brown. I don't know if I've ever paid attention to that one before. The eye. Something you can see. All right, go ahead and hit start. This is going to be your piecing template. Did I even have the camera aimed at this while I was gone? You are going to place piece 1 fabric. Make sure you grab the right one. Piece 1 is going to be 4.5 by 2.5. That's going to be this one right here with the writing on it. So you're going to put this one down first. You're going to place piece 1 right side up, completely covering, completely centered over section 1. Let me confirm that I have the right piece of fabric. This is right? I'm scared that I'm going to tell you the wrong thing. No picture. This should be it. I'm going to give it a shot of spray to the back. Right, because this one is 4.5 by 2. That looks like 4.5 by 2. Whoop! That was the spray. And this is going to cover this part right here, the very bottom. Make sure you cover the whole thing. Color doesn't make a difference. I'll just leave that light brown in there. And then we're going to trim this part over here on the left-hand side. Next piece that's going to go down is going to be the 5.5 by 1.5. That's going to be this. That's 5.5 by 1.5. So we're going to trim this. We're doing that trim placement line thing. So let's do that. I know, I need to get, he won't give me any space. They gave me the biggest room, and it would be the room in the house that you would give to your kids as the rec room. That's the room I have. But I threatened my children, I go, oh, you know when, as soon as you move out, I'm going to turn, and I told Violet, I go, Violet, your room is going to be Momo's bedroom. And then Kai, your room is going to be Momo's agility room. That's what I told them. They just stare at me like, is she for real? Because they know I'm so crazy about the dog. They're like, she probably would do that. Okay, so this is step number 8. We did the 1/4 inch. I'm going to give it a little shot of spray and turn it over. I also try to live within my space, because if I had unlimited space, I would just be, it just would not be good. Because I think about things. I'm more conscious of things when I go, where am I going to put it? I'm going to fold this back. And now we're going to do the same thing. Trim line and then place. I would consider taking space in his garage, because I just need to put some stuff in boxes. I don't know why. I'm just one of those people who is so attached. I get so attached to my stuff. It's really bad. Okay, so this is, we flip the fabric right side up and we press the seam. Now we're stitching the trim placement line. Note, this stitch will leave a gap for the bite. I don't know what the bite is yet, but this is the space. Oh, there's a little, I think there's a bite in the watermelon. That's why it's leaving that. So we're going to just trim fabric close to the stitch line, straight across the bite. Don't trim into the bite. Leave it. Straight across. There we go. Okay, you're going to place piece 3 fabric right side down. This is going to be this tiniest one, the one with the flowers. Right side down, 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to flip the fabric. And then we're going to do like a tack down around the whole thing. I really think I should take over part of his vacuum area. If you look at it, there's so much wasted space there. And we could put some more fabric over there. Sorry, ladies, just trying to get it to come out without it being crazy. That's the next spot we need to move into. All right, folding this back. Now it's going to stitch the watermelon tack down line. Color does not make a difference. I still have that tan in there. We're going to do the tack down for the whole thing, and then we're going to trim around it close to the stitch. Have you watched that show where they have those organizer ladies? Aren't they just amazing? They make everything look so gorgeous. I keep thinking we should have them come here, but I don't think I could ever do it because they would, I'd be like an episode of Hoarders, like where they're trying to make me throw stuff away and I don't want to do it. Where it's like super traumatic, and then I go out there and like everything they throw away, I take back out of the trash can and bring back in. That's what it would be like. Okay, we're going to trim all this. I say all the same things they say on Hoarders. I'm like, oh, but that's for somebody. I can't get rid of that. Oh, I'm going to sell that. That's going to get sold. Oh, that's so special. I'm exactly the same. The ladies here, I'm like, if you need to get rid of it, get rid of it. Don't let me see it. Just get rid of it. And that's what I have them do. And then I see it in the trash can, I dig it out. It's so bad. Ladies, what's wrong with me? I think I need therapy. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't pay attention to the letters. Mine says sparkle. What does it say? Sparkler. And it's upside down, but that's okay. Who's going to be looking at that? All right, stitch the rind placement line. Color does make a difference. They want you to pick a good green. We need more fabric. So Lori was here the other day. I don't know if you ladies know Lori. She worked here and then she was really sick and then she couldn't be here for a while and she stopped in. She cut a whole bunch of fat quarters for us. So we have some fat quarters now in the store and I think each time she comes, she's going to do that. We're going to work on having that. Some fat quarters. I didn't even put them in the system. All right, here's that perfect green. It was worth the thread sets just to have this green. I just didn't have this one. And we're going to stitch the rind placement line. And then you're going to get your rind piece of fabric. Go ahead and give this a little shot of spray. It's the green. Go ahead and lay this down. And this is, we're going to trim this close to the stitch line so you don't have to worry about having to move mine like that. This is the tack down, step number 19. And then we're going to trim it close. That's step number 20. And then we're just going to be doing some outline stitching. Oh, Marlene, don't say that. It is so beautiful, though. It's kind of like Sage. Sage came here and cleaned up that whole back area. And then I think it looked good for like one day. Okay, we're going to trim this. You know what? I need my other snips, not these. There's nothing like a good pair of snips. Yeah, is it realistic? Can you really, like, how can you, if you're super busy, can you really, like a family, keep it as organized? The show I watched, they made a, it was like a trail mix bar. So they had a trail mix bar made for the family. And I was like, I don't know if I could. Sage could do it. You know, my girlfriend Sage could do it. She keeps everything so neat. Okay, I am going to put in red. Should I do red? I have a, let me find it. I have a red that is kind of like a pinkish red. I'm going to grab that. which I love. Pinkish red, and then we'll do that light green. I'm thinking my thread that's going to ask me for a bobbin change soon. I didn't even check my needle before I started. What do I have in here? Feels thick. Feels like a 9014. So this is going to be the melon satin outline and splash detail. Then we're going to put the light green back in, then the medium green, and then the black for the seeds. This is 2 minutes of stitching. While it's doing that, I'm going to press this piece right here. I'm going to go ahead and give this a press. I wasn't positive, but I did cut the batting to 2.5 by 6.5 for this, and I think that was correct. So we'll change it if we need to, but I think we're going to cut it to the exact size. If I'm right. Not absolutely positive, but I think that's going to be correct. So let's go ahead and give this a little press here. And I matched up my lines, the seam lines, which made it not totally straight all the way around, but I'm not really too worried about that. We can square it up a little better later. I'm also going to give it a little shot of spray. Okay, but what you really want is you want these seams to be lined up. And then that should be 2.5 by 6.5. So that'll work when we go to quilt this later on. So I'm just going to leave that there. Next step over here is going to be our light green. So let me put that in. This is going to stitch the inner rind, decorative, and satin outline. Then after this, we'll put in our dark green. Okay, I'm going to put in the darker green for the rind, satin outline. gonna get your black ready. Black's gonna be next. I mean, this is going to turn out, let's see, it's 428, and we'll finish this up, and then we'll go ahead and finish the piece block. I thought we were going to get done so fast, and we were going to have so much time. I was planning, which one should we do from day 2? Marlene, are you working on day 2, and how much have you gotten through? Are they pretty quick? I will probably, well, I was going to say on Sunday I would probably work on the flange and the strips, but Violet has a soccer game, so I'll be in the Sacramento area. I'm not sure exactly where. Oh, that green just looks perfect, doesn't it? I can't forget to put the seeds one. Okay. What are seeds one? The seed spill? Should we do dark gray or should we do black? What do you think? Should we do these as our seeds? I think I'm going to do these. The dark gray. Working on cake block, a little slower, lots of pieces. I'm putting leather where they had felt leathers. I'm not particularly fond of felt. I get it. I totally get it. Okay, Cheryl made the executive decision. We're going with black. Black seeds, ladies. You're going to think I'm so lazy. I was thinking that I was going to go with this because I could reach it from a seated position. And I just got the black, but I had to stand up and reach to get it. That's how lazy I am. Is that horrible or what? Can't even believe I just told you that. Okay, this is step number 24. I'm going to put the black in. That was like me stretching. I have a friend who always says, oh, I wish I had your energy, and if she only knew. If she only knew the truth. Here go the seeds. And this is going to be a minute of stitching. Learned how to use the projector. I think that was the right call, Cheryl. Black. Okay, and after we stitch this, we can remove this from the hoop. I'm just going to re-hoop, and we're going to do the quilting for the piece block. And that is going to be the Patriotic 3 2x6. And I'll just do it in the 5x7. We'll just move it up a little bit. Yes, the dreaded board. Maybe I'll do those. Maybe I'll just do those one evening. Like I'll just do it tonight or I'll do it tomorrow. I feel like I'm better in the mornings. So I am seeing a little bit of my white. And of course, I'm just noticing it right now. So I'm going to switch out to a black bobbin. And it's just the nature of it sometimes. and take this off. I'm just seeing a couple specks. This is the perfectionist in me. And just put that bobbin in. Do you see that? You can see just a couple of specks there. And like I said, I think this is, I don't know what needle's in there. Oh, that's perfect. That seed is perfect. So if you haven't gotten there yet, throw in a black bobbin. And then we can get all of these too. So Joanne Bell was the one who told me that these were absolutely amazing. And I gotta agree, they're pretty amazing. This is how impatient I am. And you know what? I'm seeing like a little bit of white here too, and I think that's just part of the fabric. You know how sometimes you see the weave of the fabric? So there are the seeds. All right, we can go ahead and pop that out. I'm gonna take my black thread out. I'm gonna rehoop. We are gonna do the quilting for the pieced block. And if you need to, why don't you go ahead and piece that together? This is the best part about being in your sewing room, right? You don't have to worry about forgetting something. Everything is right there. I'm going to go ahead and move this up. This is how quickly I make a mess. Here, I'll tidy up a little bit too. My 8x8. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead, move it up, just going to keep it in here. It's going to be skinny. You know, if you're Marlene, I think you could fit, oh, you know what? They're 2.5, so they'd be like a budding. So that might not be the best situation, but I'm just going to do it here. So let me go ahead and get this back over here. Let's look at my design. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go home. Let me grab my spreadsheet. We need Patriotic 3 2x6. So I'm going to go home. Here's my 2x6 right here. Gonna go ahead and load that and set. This is quicker for me because I'm not going into each one of my quilting designs and then going through all of them. I just loaded the ones that we were going to be using. So I'm going to go 2x6 and set it. And it's up to you. You could just go ahead and center it, but I am going to go ahead and hit embroidery. We are not adding a embroidery design with this. We're just going to be quilting on that pieced block. I am going to go layout, move, and I'll just at least See how it went outside of my embroidery field? I'm going to go ahead and center it. I do not have my hoop on. So as soon as I have my hoop on, it won't do that. It'll stay within the 5x7. So now I have it in there. And now when I go to move it down, you hear a knock knock. It's not going to go beyond the edges of my hoop. Okay, so we are going to do placement stitch for the batting. And my batting's already cut down. So I am going to go ahead and let me see if I need to do that. It's placement stitch for the background fabric. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. So I'm going to go layout, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go down here and I'm skipping the placement for my batting, and I'm just going to go to placement stitch for my background fabric, and I am going to do that. Whoop, no thread. Let's go ahead and put in the color. We'll put in, let me look at my block. What color should we do? I'm just going to go white. Do you still have your black bobbin in? Well, thank you so much for asking, because I think I do. Thank you, Linda. Oh, what would I do without my ladies? Let me go ahead and put that white one in. Always looking out for me. Okay. Ladies, don't forget to put in your white bobbin. I'm going to put white thread in the top. And I could have done a placement stitch for my batting, but we're just saving a couple of steps. Whoa, what's going on here? Okay, sorry about that. So here's the placement stitch. This is for the background fabric. Mine's already cut down to the 2.5 by, is it 6.5? I can't remember. It's either, I know it's 2.5, and I think it's 6.5. It's either 2.5 by 6.5 or 2.5 by 6. So I'm going to go ahead and give these a spray. And I'm going to fit this right inside of that placement line. So I don't have to trim it. There's a red thread. If you see anything like that, go ahead and get rid of it. You don't want the shadowing. I'm going to give this a shot of spray. And you want it to stay down, so give it a good shot of spray. Let me see if they put it down any particular direction. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but if it does, let's check. It is on page 27 is where it starts. They have the flower pot. I think I actually wanted the, let's see, cherries, the pie. They have it the other direction. So let's go ahead and swing it. Have it like this. Alrighty. If you want, I guess we could put a piece of, we could tape it down. I'm just going to start stitching. I'm going to watch it though. Oh, you know what? This is going to be the tack down. I'm skipping that. I'm going to go straight to the quilting. Because the tack down is going to literally go right on the edge, and it's going to catch some of it and some of it's not going to catch. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go straight to the quilting. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. I'm going to keep my finger here just to make sure nothing gets caught. You just never know when you're doing stuff like this. And it's leaving know, almost a 1/4 inch around the edges. So I think you'll be fine. But keep that finger on your start stop just in case something goes awry. Your foot catches something. It just gives you options. This is going to be bulky with that. I'm actually going to change the supply list because you probably want your batting to do this quilting. You want it just 2 inches by 6 inches, and that way it's not bulky when you go to sew it all together. So we probably should have made this 2 by 6. And then you wouldn't have that in the seam allowance. So it's going to be a little bit bulky there. So that's probably what we should have done is made it a little bit smaller and kind of recess it in there. Just so if you haven't gotten to this part yet, you could cut that down and I'll change that in the supply list. All right. That is the embroidery on that. If you want to trim a little bit away, you could do that too. But be careful with it. I think I'm just going to leave mine and just sew it into those seams. So this is your piece block and it has the quilting down on it. All right, ladies, it is 4:44 and I think instead of getting something else started, we're just going to stop it here. I'm going to go ahead with the embroidery. We'll just stop it here. I'm going to cut these apart and I'll go ahead and press them out. Turn on your iron. I know mine is off. Not going to start another embroidery, but we'll go ahead and press these out. Let me grab my scissors.
They're so cute.
They're so cute. Doesn't have to be cut perfectly. That outline stitch is pretty much going to be your cut line. Let's take it over here. Do you still have, did you only use black bobbin for seeds? Tape top and bottom. Yeah, Marlene said she put a little bit of tape top and bottom and that totally works too. And that'll just hold it down. You don't have to worry about the foot scooping it. I did. I used that black bobbin just for the seeds, and you can see right here where I use the white. And if you compare the two, do you see how those are really black and these here have a little bit of like that pin dot? So it was worth it to change it, and I should have changed it. And oftentimes when I'm stitching with black, I will just always just put a black bobbin in. Unless I'm not thinking. Like that. I wasn't thinking. And your goal here isn't to keep all those lines straight. It's just to make this block lay flat. That's the goal. So there's no rippling. This one too. Just going to go ahead. And you can tell it's not flat. You can see the rippling. So go ahead, give the back a little shot of spray. You don't want to press this from the front because you have specialty material there. Like you've got your leather. Not that you can't, you could use a press sheet if you wanted to get the front at all. And that looks good. Last but not least, and this I'm going to trim down. My edges aren't totally straight on this. I'm going to trim to my ruler for this one. I'm just going to fussy cut it. And the muslin should take care of like me having it all lined up. So let's go ahead and trim these now. Time to clean it up. Okay. The pin dots, yes. We could use a little bit of like a Sharpie or some kind of pen or something. These are going to be trimmed down, I think 4.5 by 6.5. So grab your pop rulers, but this is the pie and the watermelon, and you're using the 4.5 by 6.5 pop rulers. Or ladies, you can just use a regular ruler. Do one more cut. That looks good. Right there. There we go. And I mean, there's a little spot where, but this is lined up and everything. If you look at the back side, that's going to be my 2.5 by 6.5. And I'll just sew to the edge and it'll be perfect. And we are done. So what we got done today is we got our watermelon, our Sweet Land of Liberty, and we did this so that we could sew together section 1. So for your homework, Marlene is saying she loves the leather, so she used leather on her cake instead of the felt. Something to think about, ladies. You're not married to the fabrics they recommend. You can do whatever you want. So you're going to put together section 1, which is going to be your Sweet Land of Liberty on the top. Then it's going to be this piece, and look at mine will not. Mine doesn't work. This needed to be that way. It's okay. Nobody will know. I'm just going to go ahead and do mine like that because my navy blues should be like this. But it's all right. My pie. And then you're going to sew on your watermelon. And that is going to be section 1. On Monday, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew together. We're going to embroider section 2. So we're going to put this together. And then we'll be able to sew our pillow front. And what would be really great would be if you're able to do your borders and your flange. If you've never done borders and flange for a Kimberbell pillow, I will walk you through it. So I will I can't make you any promises about when I'm going to do it, but I will probably pop on sometime this weekend to do the border and the flange. I'm thinking maybe hopefully Sunday at some point. But then this part right here, we're going to definitely do that on Monday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock if you can join me. And if you can't join me for any of this, I'll be recording it and I'll post it to the Sew Along group. Any questions, my ladies? Well, if not, we are going to end for the day. Thank you for joining me. I will see you on Monday, or, I'm wondering if I probably am going to just, I'm not going to live feed. I'm just going to record the border and the flange, and then I will post it. And then on Monday, we'll go ahead and we will we'll embroider out section 2. And your homework is to sew these lovely blocks together. And I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day.